Maya Chen stood in her corner office on the 42nd floor of downtown Seattle's financial district, watching her sister Lily fumble with a stack of legal documents at the conference table below. The irony wasn't lost on her that 6 months earlier, her parents had signed over the family home in Portland to Lily without so much as a phone call to Maya. Now, as property taxes came due on the four-bedroom Victorian worth nearly $2 million, her family was about to discover what Maya had learned years ago. Actions have consequences, and favoritism has a price. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The house that had been Maya's sanctuary through 18 years of childhood had become Lily's burden in less than 6 months. If you've ever watched your family choose your sibling over you repeatedly, only to come crawling back when reality hits, you'll understand the mixture of vindication and sadness coursing through Maya's veins right now. Family betrayal isn't just about the big moments, it's about a lifetime of small cuts that eventually bleed you dry. Growing up in the heart of Portland's Hawthorne district, Maya Chen had always been the responsible daughter. From the moment her sister Lily arrived when Maya was 3 years old, the household dynamics shifted in ways that would define both their lives. Maya could still remember her mother rushing to comfort Lily's every cry while telling Maya to use her big girl voice when she needed attention. This pattern became the foundation of their family structure, one that would remain unchanged for decades. Maya's earliest clear memory of the favoritism occurred when she was 8 years old. She had been saving her allowance for months to buy a telescope, carefully counting quarters and dollar bills in a mason jar hidden under her bed. The same week she finally had enough money, Lily decided she wanted to take writing lessons. Within days, Maya's parents had enrolled Lily in an expensive equestrian program, explaining to Maya that her telescope could wait because science wasn't going anywhere, but Lily's interest in horses might fade if they didn't act quickly. Maya watched her carefully saved money disappear into riding boots and helmet fees, her own dreams postponed indefinitely. While Maya received secondhand clothes from cousins and neighbors, Lily's wardrobe came from department stores with tags still attached. When Maya expressed interest in piano lessons, she was told to practice on the old keyboard in the basement until she proved her commitment. When Lily wanted to try violin, a brand new instrument appeared within the week, along with private lessons from the city's most renowned instructor. The inequality wasn't just material, it was emotional, systemic, and relentless. Maya learned early to excel in areas that didn't require financial investment. She devoured books from the public library, taught herself programming languages from free online resources, and maintained perfect grades through sheer determination. Her accomplishments were acknowledged briefly, then overshadowed by Lily's latest artistic pursuit or social triumph. When Maya won the state mathematics competition in 10th grade, the family celebration lasted exactly as long as it took Lily to announce she had landed the lead in the school musical. Suddenly, Maya's trophy was forgotten, replaced by discussions of costume fittings and opening night preparations. The house on Maple Street had been Maya's refuge during those formative years. A sprawling Victorian built in 1923, it featured a wraparound porch, original hardwood floors, and a tower room that became Maya's private sanctuary. She spent countless hours in that octagonal space, windows on all sides providing views of the garden her grandmother had planted decades earlier. The tower room was where Maya learned to code, where she built her first computer from salvaged parts, and where she dreamed of a future beyond her family's suffocating favoritism. Her parents, David and Susan Chen, had inherited the house from David's mother, along with the responsibility of maintaining a century-old property. Maya watched her father spend weekends repairing original fixtures, updating electrical systems, and preserving the architectural details that made the house special. She assumed, as any child would, that one day this family home would belong to both daughters equally. The house represented stability, history, and the promise of generational continuity. High school intensified the disparity between the sisters' treatment. Maya enrolled in advanced placement courses, participated in robotics competitions, and worked part-time jobs to save for college. Her achievements were met with expectations of continued excellence rather than celebration. Meanwhile, Lily's B average grades were praised as improvements. Her part-time job at a boutique was celebrated as character building, and her social calendar was treated as evidence of her popularity and charm. The most painful incident during Maya's senior year involved college preparation. Maya had been accepted to several prestigious universities, including MIT and Stanford, with partial scholarships that would cover most of her tuition costs. Her parents scheduled one brief dinner to acknowledge these acceptances, then spent the following week planning Lily's elaborate Sweet 16 party. The contrast was stark. Maya's academic achievements warranted a congratulatory meal at a chain restaurant, while Lily's birthday required a catered event with professional photography and a DJ. When Maya tried to discuss her college choice with her parents, seeking their input on the decision between MIT and Stanford, they seemed distracted and dismissive. "Your scholarships are so generous," her mother had said. "You'll figure out what works best. Just don't choose something too far away in case Lily needs help with college applications next year." Even Maya's most significant life decision was filtered through its potential impact on Lily's needs. The summer before college, Maya worked double shifts at a local tech company, saving every possible dollar for expenses not covered by her scholarship. She researched dormitory options, course schedules, and campus resources entirely on her own. Meanwhile, her parents spent the summer planning a European graduation trip for Lily, despite Lily still having a full year of high school remaining. The message was clear: Maya's achievements were expected and therefore unremarkable, while Lily's potential was precious and deserving of investment. Maya's relationship with the house deepened during this period of preparation and isolation. She spent evenings in the tower room, watching the sunset through west-facing windows, while video calling other scholarship recipients who would be joining her at MIT. The house felt like the only constant in a family system that consistently devalued her contributions and celebrated her sister's mere existence. During her freshman year at MIT, Maya called home weekly, updating her parents on her coursework, research opportunities, and academic progress. These conversations were brief and perfunctory, usually ending with requests for updates about Lily's social life, academic struggles, or latest romantic drama. When Maya mentioned that she was considering a double major in computer science and business, her father's main concern was whether the additional workload would prevent her from helping Lily with college applications. Maya's sophomore year brought new challenges and opportunities. She was accepted into an exclusive research program, earned recognition for her innovative work in artificial intelligence, and secured a coveted internship at a major tech company.
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story.
When she called to share these accomplishments, her mother's response was lukewarm congratulations, followed by immediate deflection to Lily's college acceptance to Portland State University. Maya's groundbreaking research was interesting, but Lily's acceptance to a state school was a family milestone worth celebrating. The internship proved transformative, not just professionally but personally. Working alongside other driven, accomplished individuals, Maya experienced what it felt like to have her contributions valued and recognized. Her supervisor, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, became an informal mentor, praising Maya's analytical skills and innovative thinking. For the first time in her life, Maya existed in an environment where excellence was appreciated rather than expected and dismissed. Dr. Walsh noticed Maya's tendency to downplay her achievements, a habit formed by years of family dynamics. During one of their regular check-ins, she asked Maya directly about her background and family support system. Maya found herself explaining the consistent pattern of being overshadowed by her sister, the way her accomplishments were treated as routine, while Lily's modest achievements were celebrated as extraordinary. The conversation with Dr. Walsh marked a turning point in Maya's self-perception. Her mentor pointed out that Maya's resume at 19 was more impressive than many graduate students, that her research contributions were already being cited by other scholars, and that her technical skills were extraordinary even by MIT standards. This external validation helped Maya recognize that her family's dismissive treatment reflected their dysfunction, not her inadequacy. Maya's junior year brought increased recognition and opportunities. She published her first academic paper, was invited to present at international conferences, and received job offers from major technology companies, despite still being an undergraduate. Each achievement was met with brief acknowledgement from her family, quickly overshadowed by discussions of Lily's college struggles, social drama, or need for additional financial support. The pattern became more pronounced as Maya's success accelerated. When she was featured on the cover of a prestigious technology magazine as one of the top young innovators in artificial intelligence, her parents mentioned it briefly during a phone call before spending 30 minutes discussing Lily's difficulty choosing a college major. When Maya received a full scholarship for graduate school, along with a stipend that would allow her to support herself entirely, her mother's main comment was relief that Maya would be financially independent, leaving more resources available for Lily's needs. By her senior year, Maya had developed a clear post-graduation plan. She would complete her master's degree through an accelerated program, then join a startup company where she had been offered a senior developer position with equity participation. Her financial projections indicated she would be earning a six-figure salary within 2 years, with significant wealth potential as the company grew. When she shared these plans with her family, their response was predictably focused on how her success might benefit Lily rather than celebrating Maya's achievements. Maya's relationship with Lily during college had become increasingly strained. Lily seemed to resent Maya's academic success, frequently making comments about how easy things came to Maya or how lucky Maya was to have scholarship opportunities. These comments ignored the countless hours Maya had spent studying, the summer jobs she had worked to save money, and the social sacrifices she had made to maintain her academic performance. In Lily's narrative, Maya's success was effortless and therefore undeserving of recognition. The house on Maple Street remained Maya's emotional anchor throughout college. During breaks and summer visits, she would retreat to the tower room, finding comfort in the familiar space that held so many memories of childhood dreams and adolescent determination. She began to envision her future relationship with the house, imagining renovations that would preserve its historical character while updating its functionality. Maya researched property values, historical renovation techniques, and sustainable building practices, developing detailed plans for the home's eventual modernization. Her parents never explicitly discussed inheritance plans, but Maya assumed the house would eventually be shared between both daughters. This assumption seemed logical and fair. Maya had the financial resources to maintain the property, the emotional connection to preserve its character, and the technical skills to oversee necessary renovations. Lily had shown little interest in the house's maintenance or history, preferring apartment living to the responsibilities of property ownership. Maya graduated summa cum laude with dual degrees in computer science and business administration. Her master's thesis on machine learning applications in financial modeling was published by a major academic press and cited widely within the field. She received job offers from technology companies, consulting firms, and research institutions, ultimately choosing a position with a Seattle-based startup that specialized in artificial intelligence applications for sustainable energy systems. The graduation ceremony was attended by her parents, who seemed proud but slightly overwhelmed by Maya's accomplishments and the recognition she received from faculty and industry representatives. Lily, then a junior at Portland State, struggling with a communications major, appeared uncomfortable throughout the weekend, making frequent comments about how boring Maya's academic achievements were and how she could never imagine dedicating so much time to studying. Maya's transition to professional life in Seattle was seamless. Her combination of technical expertise and business acumen made her invaluable to the startup, which was developing revolutionary applications for smart grid technology. Within 6 months, she was promoted to senior developer. Within a year, she was leading her own team. Her equity in the company was increasing in value as they secured major contracts and prepared for potential acquisition by larger technology firms. The success Maya achieved professionally stood in stark contrast to her family relationships. Phone calls home became increasingly perfunctory. Her parents seemed unable to understand the significance of her work or the trajectory of her career. Conversations typically lasted 15 minutes, with 5 minutes dedicated to updates about Maya's life and 10 minutes focused on Lily's various struggles with college, relationships, and career uncertainty. Maya began building a chosen family in Seattle, developing close friendships with colleagues who shared her intellectual curiosity and professional ambition. She joined professional organizations, volunteered for technology education nonprofits, and established herself as a respected member of the Seattle tech community. These relationships provided the recognition and support that had been absent from her biological family, helping Maya develop confidence and self-worth independent of her parents' approval. 2 years into her Seattle career, Maya purchased a stunning modern condominium in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. The space featured floor-to-ceiling windows, an open floor plan perfect for entertaining, and a home office where she could work on freelance projects and continue her research. The purchase represented financial independence and personal autonomy, milestones she celebrated with friends who understood their significance. Maya's relationship with Lily had become increasingly distant. Lily graduated from Portland State with mediocre grades and no career direction, moving back into their parents' house while she figured out her next steps. Phone conversations between the sisters were awkward and infrequent, with little common ground for meaningful connection. The house on Maple Street remained Maya's emotional anchor throughout college. During breaks and summer visits, she would retreat to the tower room, finding comfort in the familiar space that held so many memories of childhood dreams and adolescent determination. She began to envision her future relationship with the house, imagining renovations that would preserve its historical character while updating its functionality. Maya researched property values, historical renovation techniques, and sustainable building practices, developing detailed plans for the home's eventual modernization. Her parents never explicitly discussed inheritance plans, but Maya assumed the house would eventually be shared between both daughters. This assumption seemed logical and fair. Maya had the financial resources to maintain the property, the emotional connection to preserve its character, and the technical skills to oversee necessary renovations. Lily had shown little interest in the house's maintenance or history, preferring apartment living to the responsibilities of property ownership. Maya graduated summa cum laude with dual degrees in computer science and business administration. Her master's thesis on machine learning applications in financial modeling was published by a major academic press and cited widely within the field. She received job offers from technology companies, consulting firms, and research institutions, ultimately choosing a position with a Seattle-based startup that specialized in artificial intelligence applications for sustainable energy systems. The graduation ceremony was attended by her parents, who seemed proud but slightly overwhelmed by Maya's accomplishments and the recognition she received from faculty and industry representatives. Lily, then a junior at Portland State, struggling with a communications major, appeared uncomfortable throughout the weekend, making frequent comments about how boring Maya's academic achievements were and how she could never imagine dedicating so much time to studying. Maya's transition to professional life in Seattle was seamless. Her combination of technical expertise and business acumen made her invaluable to the startup, which was developing revolutionary applications for smart grid technology. Within 6 months, she was promoted to senior developer. Within a year, she was leading her own team. Her equity in the company was increasing in value as they secured major contracts and prepared for potential acquisition by larger technology firms. The success Maya achieved professionally stood in stark contrast to her family relationships. Phone calls home became increasingly perfunctory. Her parents seemed unable to understand the significance of her work or the trajectory of her career. Conversations typically lasted 15 minutes, with 5 minutes dedicated to Maya's life and 10 minutes focused on Lily's various struggles with college, relationships, and career uncertainty. Maya began building a chosen family in Seattle, developing close friendships with colleagues who shared her intellectual curiosity and professional ambition. She joined professional organizations, volunteered for technology education nonprofits, and established herself as a respected member of the Seattle tech community. These relationships. Maya's professional success seemed to highlight Lily's lack of direction, creating resentment that neither sister addressed directly. During this period, Maya noticed her parents becoming more financially stressed. David had retired from his engineering position, and Susan's part-time work as a substitute teacher provided minimal income. Maintaining the Victorian house required constant attention and expense, from roof repairs to heating system updates. Maya offered several times to help with major renovations or ongoing maintenance costs, but her parents consistently declined, saying they didn't want to burden her despite her obvious financial capability. Maya's career continued its upward trajectory. The startup was acquired by a major technology corporation, resulting in a substantial financial windfall from her equity position. At 26, Maya found herself with a 7-figure net worth and a senior position at one of the most innovative companies in the tech industry. Her work on sustainable energy applications was featured in major publications, and she was invited to speak at conferences around the world. The recognition Maya received professionally made the lack of acknowledgement from her family even more apparent. When she was profiled in a major business magazine as one of the top young entrepreneurs in technology, her parents mentioned it briefly before spending the conversation discussing Lily's latest job interview for a retail management position. The disconnect between Maya's actual achievements and her family's assessment of her worth had become too obvious to ignore. Maya began spending holidays with friends rather than returning to Portland, a decision that initially hurt her parents but ultimately reduced the emotional toll of family interactions. She sent thoughtful gifts and maintained regular contact, but the physical distance allowed her to protect herself from the ongoing dynamic of having her accomplishments minimized while Lily's struggles were treated as family crises requiring collective attention and resources. The house on Maple Street remained significant in Maya's mind despite her increasing distance from her family. She had researched property values extensively and knew the home was worth nearly $2 million, having appreciated significantly due to Portland's booming real estate market and the property's historical significance. Maya had assumed she would eventually inherit a portion of this value, not for the money, but for the connection to family history and childhood memories. Maya's romantic life had developed alongside her professional success. She met Jonathan Park, a fellow tech entrepreneur, at a conference in San Francisco. Their relationship evolved slowly, built on shared professional interests and mutual respect for each other's ambitions. Jonathan understood Maya's complicated family dynamics, having experienced similar favoritism issues with his own siblings. Their relationship provided Maya with emotional support and validation that had been absent from her family connections. By her 28th birthday, Maya had established herself as a leading expert in sustainable technology applications. Her consulting firm was handling major projects for Fortune 500 companies, her research was being cited internationally, and her speaking engagements commanded substantial fees. She had purchased a larger home in Seattle's Magnolia neighborhood, complete with a home office complex where she could manage her expanding business operations. Maya's success had not gone unnoticed by her family, though their reaction remained characteristically self-centered. Her parents occasionally mentioned how proud they were of her achievements, usually in the context of hoping Maya might help Lily find career opportunities in technology. Lily herself seemed increasingly resentful of Maya's success, making frequent comments about how Maya had become too good for her family and how money had changed her personality. The irony of these accusations was not lost on Maya. She had repeatedly offered to help with family expenses, house maintenance, and Lily's career development. Every offer had been declined or deflected, with her parents insisting they didn't want to take advantage of Maya's generosity while simultaneously expecting emotional and practical support whenever crises arose. Maya began to understand that her role in the family system was to be successful enough to reflect well on them, but not so assertive as to challenge their continued focus on Lily's needs. Maya's perspective on family relationships had been fundamentally altered by her professional experiences and chosen relationships. She had learned what healthy dynamics looked like through friendships with colleagues who celebrated each other's successes, romantic partnership with Jonathan who actively supported her ambitions, and mentorship relationships where achievements were recognized and built upon. These experiences highlighted how dysfunctional her biological family's patterns had become. The revelation that would shatter Maya's assumptions about her future came on a Tuesday morning in November. She was reviewing quarterly reports in her home office when her phone rang with a call from her father. His voice was strained and emotional as he explained that he and Susan had made an important decision about the house on Maple Street. Maya listened with growing disbelief as David explained that they had decided to gift the property to Lily, effective immediately, to help her achieve stability and financial security. The rationale David provided was a masterclass in justification and deflection. Lily needed the boost more than Maya, who was already successful and financially secure. The house would provide Lily with stability and a foundation for building her own wealth. Maya would inherit other assets that would be more liquid and practical for someone with her lifestyle. The decision had been made with love for both daughters, taking into account their different needs and circumstances. Maya's immediate response was a stunned silence that David interpreted as understanding and acceptance. He continued explaining the logistics of the transfer, mentioning that all legal documents had already been signed and filed. The house would be transferred to Lily within 30 days, along with responsibility for property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Maya's name had never been on any ownership documents, so no legal action was required from her. When Maya found her voice, her first question was whether Lily understood the financial responsibilities that came with owning a $2 million property. David's response revealed the family's continued pattern of protecting Lily from consequences. They had researched the tax implications and believed Lily could manage the expenses with her current income from the retail management position she had finally secured. If problems arose, they were confident Lily would figure out solutions or that Maya might be willing to help her sister succeed. The conversation ended with David expressing hope that Maya understood their decision and would support Lily during this transition. Maya's response was measured and professional, thanking her father for informing her and wishing Lily success with the property. After ending the call, Maya sat in her home office, processing the magnitude of what had occurred and its implications for her relationship with her family. The emotional impact of the decision was complex and overwhelming. Maya felt betrayed, not necessarily by the inheritance decision itself, but by the process and rationale. Her parents had made a major decision about family assets without consulting her, justified it by assuming Maya didn't need additional wealth, and then expected her gratitude and support for their choice. The pattern was familiar, but the stakes were higher than ever before. Maya shared the news with Jonathan that evening, struggling to articulate her feelings about the situation.
His response was immediate outrage on her behalf, pointing out that the decision seemed designed to penalize Maya for her success while rewarding Lily's lack of achievement. Jonathan helped Maya recognize that her parents' choice reflected their dysfunction rather than any inadequacy on her part, a perspective that was both comforting and infuriating. The following weeks brought additional details about the property transfer that deepened Maya's understanding of her family's dynamics. Lily had been involved in the decision for months, actively lobbying their parents for the house while Maya remained unaware of any discussions. The legal paperwork had been completed efficiently, suggesting significant planning and coordination. Maya's exclusion from these conversations had been deliberate and complete. Maya's friends and colleagues were universally shocked by her family's decision. Several offered legal advice, suggesting that Maya might have grounds to challenge the transfer based on reasonable expectations of inheritance. Maya consulted with an attorney, who confirmed that she had no legal recourse since the property had always been solely owned by her parents. The consultation was brief and definitive. Legally, her parents had acted within their rights, regardless of how ethically questionable their decision appeared. The house transfer was completed in December, just before the holidays. Maya received a brief email from Lily thanking her for being understanding about the situation and expressing excitement about becoming a homeowner. The tone was casual and presumptuous, as if Maya's acceptance of the decision was both expected and appreciated. There was no acknowledgement of the emotional impact or financial magnitude of what had occurred. Maya spent the holidays in Seattle with Jonathan's family, who welcomed her warmly and treated her accomplishments with appropriate recognition and pride. The contrast between their celebration of her success and her own family's dismissive treatment was stark and healing. Jonathan's parents asked detailed questions about her work, expressed genuine admiration for her achievements, and included her naturally in family traditions and conversations. The new year brought Maya a promotion to vice president of innovation at her company, along with additional equity and a substantial salary increase. The recognition felt particularly significant in light of her family's recent actions, confirming that her worth was measurable and appreciated by people whose opinions she respected. Maya celebrated the promotion with colleagues and friends who understood its significance and shared her excitement about future opportunities. Maya's relationship with her biological family entered a new phase of polite distance. Phone calls became less frequent and more superficial. She maintained contact out of obligation rather than desire, providing basic updates about her life while avoiding deeper emotional connections. Her parents seemed oblivious to the change in dynamic, treating her increased distance as natural evolution rather than consequence of their actions. Winter turned to spring, and Maya focused her attention on professional projects and personal relationships that provided fulfillment and growth. She was selected to lead a major international project that would expand her company's presence in European markets, an opportunity that would require extensive travel and high-level strategic planning. The role represented recognition of her expertise and potential for continued advancement. Maya's success continued to accelerate throughout the spring and early summer. The international project exceeded all projections, resulting in major contracts and industry recognition. She was featured in several professional publications, invited to join prestigious advisory boards, and recruited by headhunters representing major corporations. Her consulting firm was also thriving, with a waiting list of clients seeking her expertise in sustainable technology applications. The house on Maple Street, meanwhile, was becoming a burden for Lily in ways that Maya had anticipated but not mentioned during the transfer process. Property taxes on a $2 million home were substantial, particularly for someone earning a modest retail management salary. Insurance costs, utility expenses, and routine maintenance were consuming most of Lily's income, leaving little for other expenses or savings. Maya learned about Lily's struggles through mutual acquaintances rather than direct communication. Friends still living in Portland mentioned seeing Lily posting on social media about the challenges of home ownership, seeking recommendations for affordable contractors, and expressing stress about monthly expenses. Maya felt no satisfaction in these reports, only a resigned recognition that consequences were beginning to materialize. The crisis Maya had been unconsciously expecting arrived in July, 6 months after the property transfer. Her phone rang on a Thursday evening with a call from her mother, Susan's voice shaking with barely controlled panic. The annual property tax bill had arrived, and the amount was far higher than they had projected. Lily was unable to pay the $24,000 assessment, and penalties and interest would accrue rapidly if payment wasn't made within 30 days. Susan's explanation of the situation revealed the family's continued pattern of poor planning and unrealistic expectations. They had calculated property taxes based on outdated assessment values, failing to account for Portland's rapidly appreciating real estate market. Lily's income was insufficient to cover the basic expenses of maintaining the property, let alone unexpected assessments and emergency repairs. The house was becoming a financial nightmare rather than the stability they had envisioned. Maya listened to her mother's desperate explanation with professional detachment, asking clarifying questions about the exact amounts owed, payment deadlines, and potential consequences of non-payment. Susan seemed surprised by Maya's clinical approach, apparently expecting immediate emotional investment and offers of assistance. When Maya didn't volunteer to solve the problem, Susan became more direct in her requests for help. The conversation revealed assumptions that Maya found both predictable and infuriating. Susan expected Maya to pay the property taxes, not as a loan, but as a gift to help Lily succeed as a homeowner. The request was framed as family obligation, with suggestions that Maya's success created responsibility for supporting her sister's struggles. Susan seemed genuinely confused by Maya's reluctance to immediately offer financial assistance. Maya's response was measured and professional. She acknowledged the difficulty of the situation, expressed sympathy for Lily's stress, and offered to research potential solutions, such as payment plans, refinancing options, or tax assessment appeals. What she didn't offer was immediate financial rescue, a distinction that seemed to escape Susan's understanding completely. The phone call ended with Susan expressing disappointment in Maya's response and confusion about Maya's apparent lack of family loyalty. Maya's offer to research solutions was dismissed as inadequate, with suggestions that Maya was being selfish by not immediately solving a problem that was well within her financial means to address. The disconnect between Susan's expectations and Maya's boundaries was complete and seemingly unbridgeable. Maya spent the following day researching property tax regulations, assessment appeal processes, and financial assistance programs available to homeowners facing tax difficulties. Her research was thorough and professional, compiling resources that could genuinely help Lily navigate the situation through official channels rather than family bailouts. The crisis Maya had been unconsciously expecting arrived in July, 6 months after the property transfer. Her phone rang on a Thursday evening with a call from her mother, Susan's voice shaking with barely controlled panic. The annual property tax bill had arrived, and the amount was far higher than they had projected. Lily was unable to pay the $24,000 assessment, and penalties and interest would accrue rapidly if payment wasn't made within 30 days. Susan's explanation of the situation revealed the family's continued pattern of poor planning and unrealistic expectations. They had calculated property taxes based on outdated assessment values, failing to account for Portland's rapidly appreciating real estate market. Lily's income was insufficient to cover the basic expenses of maintaining the property, let alone unexpected assessments and emergency repairs. The house was becoming a financial nightmare rather than the stability they had envisioned. Maya listened to her mother's desperate explanation with professional detachment, asking clarifying questions about the exact amounts owed, payment deadlines, and potential consequences of non-payment. Susan seemed surprised by Maya's clinical approach, apparently expecting immediate emotional investment and offers of assistance. When Maya didn't volunteer to solve the problem, Susan became more direct in her requests for help. The conversation revealed assumptions that Maya found both predictable and infuriating. Susan expected Maya to pay the property taxes, not as a loan, but as a gift to help Lily succeed as a homeowner. The request was framed as family obligation, with suggestions that Maya's success created responsibility for supporting her sister's struggles. Susan seemed genuinely confused by Maya's reluctance to immediately offer financial assistance. Maya's response was measured and professional. She acknowledged the difficulty of the situation, expressed sympathy for Lily's stress, and offered to research potential solutions, such as payment plans, refinancing options, or tax assessment appeals. What she didn't offer was immediate financial rescue, a distinction that seemed to escape Susan's understanding completely. The phone call ended with Susan expressing disappointment in Maya's response and confusion about Maya's apparent lack of family loyalty. Maya's offer to research solutions was dismissed as inadequate, with suggestions that Maya was being selfish by not immediately solving a problem that was well within her financial means to address. The disconnect between Susan's expectations and Maya's boundaries was complete and seemingly unbridgeable. Maya spent the following day researching property tax regulations, assessment appeal processes, and financial assistance programs available to homeowners facing tax difficulties. Her research was thorough and professional, compiling resources that could genuinely help Lily navigate the situation through official family bailouts.
The information represented hours of work and significant expertise, value that Maya was providing freely despite her parents' dismissive response to her initial offer. Maya's research revealed several important facts about Lily's situation. The property tax assessment was accurate based on current market values, making appeals unlikely to succeed. Payment plan options were available but required meeting specific financial hardship criteria that Lily might not qualify for given her employment status. The most practical solution would be either selling the house or securing employment that provided sufficient income to cover ownership expenses. When Maya called her parents back with this information, their response revealed the depth of their continued dysfunction. David thanked Maya perfunctorily for the research, then immediately dismissed all suggested solutions as impractical or inappropriate. Selling the house wasn't an option because it was meant to provide Lily with stability. Lily shouldn't have to change jobs because she was finally established in her current position. The only reasonable solution, from their perspective, was for Maya to pay the taxes and potentially help with ongoing expenses. Maya's patience, carefully maintained throughout years of family dysfunction, finally reached its limit. Her response was calm but definitive. She would not be paying Lily's property taxes, either as a gift or a loan. She would not be contributing to ongoing maintenance expenses for a property she had been excluded from owning. She would continue to provide information and emotional support, but financial rescue was not within the scope of appropriate sister responsibilities. The reaction to Maya's boundary setting was immediate and explosive. David accused Maya of abandoning her family during a crisis, suggesting that her success had made her cold and selfish. Susan cried, expressing bewilderment that Maya would allow Lily to lose the house rather than help her keep it. Both parents invoked family obligations, shared history, and moral responsibility in increasingly desperate attempts to change Maya's position. Maya maintained her boundaries despite the emotional manipulation, a strength she had developed through years of professional challenges and healthy relationships. She reiterated her willingness to provide non-financial support while refusing to enable continued poor decision-making through monetary rescue. The conversation ended with her parents expressing disappointment and suggesting that Maya's attitude might permanently damage their family relationships. The aftermath of Maya's boundary setting brought a period of silence from her family, punctuated by occasional guilt-inducing text messages and voicemails. Lily finally contacted Maya directly, her approach shifting between anger, pleading, and attempted emotional manipulation. Maya responded consistently, offering emotional support and practical information while maintaining her refusal to provide financial rescue. Maya's friends and colleagues supported her decision unanimously, pointing out that her family's expectations were unreasonable and their decision-making had created predictable consequences. Jonathan was particularly supportive, having witnessed similar family dynamics in his own background. The external validation helped Maya maintain confidence in her boundaries despite the intense pressure from her biological family. The property tax crisis escalated over the following weeks as payment deadlines approached and penalties began accruing. Maya received increasingly desperate communications from all family members, each attempting different approaches to secure her financial intervention. The emotional intensity of these communications revealed how completely her family had expected her to solve their problem, regardless of how that problem had been created. Maya maintained her professional focus despite the family drama, successfully launching the international project that had been months in development. The project's success generated significant media attention and industry recognition, providing perspective on her actual priorities and accomplishments. Her life in Seattle continued to thrive professionally and personally, even as her biological family struggled with consequences they had created. The resolution of the property tax crisis came from an unexpected source, Lily's own resourcefulness when financial rescue wasn't available. Faced with real consequences and no external bailout, Lily secured a higher-paying position at a marketing firm and arranged a payment plan with the county tax office. The solution required significant lifestyle changes and ongoing financial discipline, but it was sustainable and appropriate given her circumstances as a property owner. Maya learned about Lily's solution through their parents, who seemed surprised that Lily had been capable of solving the problem independently. Their surprise revealed how completely they had underestimated Lily's abilities while simultaneously expecting Maya to compensate for that underestimation through financial support. The pattern of enabling one daughter while expecting another to provide backup was finally visible to everyone involved. The family dynamics began shifting as reality replaced expectations. Maya's boundaries remained firm but not punitive, establishing a new foundation for potentially healthier relationships. Her success was beginning to be recognized as her own achievement rather than family resource available for redistribution. Most importantly, Lily was discovering capabilities she had never been required to develop while living under the umbrella of parental protection and expected sister rescue. The weeks following Lily's successful negotiation with the county tax office brought an unexpected quiet to Maya's life. For the first time in months, her phone wasn't ringing with desperate family pleas or guilt-laden voicemails. The silence felt both peaceful and ominous, like the calm before a storm that Maya had learned to recognize in her family's behavioral patterns. Maya's international project had launched successfully across 3 European markets, exceeding projected revenues by 40% in the first quarter alone. Her team's innovative approach to sustainable energy distribution was being studied by competitors and praised by industry analysts. The recognition came with substantial financial rewards, including a performance bonus that exceeded most people's annual salaries. Jonathan had proposed during a weekend trip to the San Juan Islands, presenting a ring he had designed himself, incorporating elements that reflected both their professional achievements and shared values. The proposal was thoughtful and intimate, taking place during a private sunset dinner overlooking the water. Maya's acceptance came easily, feeling like a natural progression of their partnership rather than a dramatic life change. The engagement announcement was met with enthusiasm from Maya's chosen family in Seattle. Colleagues, friends, and mentors expressed genuine excitement for her future, asking about wedding plans and offering assistance with arrangements. The warmth of their response highlighted the contrast with her biological family's typical reactions to her achievements. Maya's parents responded to the engagement news with polite congratulations, followed immediately by questions about whether Lily would be included in the wedding party. Their assumption that Lily's involvement was both expected and appropriate revealed how completely they misunderstood the current state of the sisters' relationship. Maya's response was diplomatically vague, acknowledging that wedding planning was in early stages. The wedding planning process became an opportunity for Maya to create the family celebration she had never experienced.
Jonathan's parents embraced her completely, treating her as a beloved daughter rather than an in-law. His siblings welcomed her into their traditions and included her in family events with genuine affection. The contrast with her biological family's conditional acceptance was both healing and illuminating. Maya's professional success continued accelerating throughout the fall. She was invited to deliver the keynote address at the International Sustainable Technology Conference, an honor typically reserved for industry veterans with decades of experience. Her presentation on artificial intelligence applications in renewable energy systems received standing ovations and generated international media coverage. The keynote address led to consulting opportunities with governments and major corporations worldwide. Maya's expertise was in high demand, with clients willing to pay premium fees for her strategic insights. She established a separate consulting entity to manage these opportunities, projecting revenues that would make her financially independent even without her primary employment. Maya's growing wealth and influence created new dynamics with her biological family. Her parents began mentioning her success more frequently in conversations, though always in context of how proud the family was, rather than recognizing her individual achievements. They seemed to view her accomplishments as reflecting well on their parenting, rather than resulting from her own determination and talent. Lily's attitude toward Maya's success remained complicated and contradictory. Social media posts alternated between proud sister messages celebrating Maya's achievements and subtle complaints about feeling overshadowed or abandoned. The inconsistency reflected Lily's internal conflict between genuine affection for Maya and resentment over their different life trajectories. Winter brought a new crisis that would test the fragile equilibrium Maya had established with her family. The Victorian house's century-old heating system failed completely during Portland's coldest week in decades. Replacement costs were estimated at $30,000, money that Lily didn't have despite her improved financial situation and payment plan arrangements. Maya learned about the heating crisis through a mutual friend rather than direct family communication. The friend mentioned seeing Lily's desperate social media posts about space heaters and wearing coats indoors, seeking recommendations for affordable HVAC contractors. Maya's initial response was sympathy mixed with resignation, recognizing another predictable consequence of her family's poor planning. The call from her father came 3 days after the heating system failure, his voice carrying the familiar strain of financial panic. David's explanation of the situation was detailed and desperate, emphasizing the urgent nature of the repair needs and Lily's inability to secure financing for the work. The house was uninhabitable in its current condition, with indoor temperatures barely reaching 50 degrees despite multiple space heaters. David's request for assistance was more strategic than previous appeals, focusing on the emergency nature of the situation rather than family obligations. He emphasized health and safety concerns, the risk of pipe freezing and additional damage, and the potential for complete property loss if heating wasn't restored quickly. The approach was calculated to appeal to Maya's practical nature rather than emotional manipulation. Maya's response reflected the boundaries she had established during the property tax crisis. She expressed genuine concern for Lily's comfort and safety while declining to provide direct financial assistance for the heating system replacement. Instead, she offered to research emergency assistance programs, temporary housing options, and financing alternatives that might help address the crisis appropriately. The research Maya conducted revealed several potential solutions that her family had not explored. Emergency repair loans were available through city programs for low-income homeowners, utility companies offered assistance programs for heating system emergencies, multiple contractors provided financing options for major system replacements. The information represented viable alternatives to family bailouts. David's response to Maya's research was predictably dismissive. The loan programs had waiting lists and qualification requirements that might delay assistance for weeks. Contractor financing carried high interest rates that would burden Lily's budget long-term. The only practical solution from his perspective was immediate family assistance to address the emergency quickly and efficiently. Maya maintained her position despite escalating pressure from multiple family members. Susan called daily with updates about Lily's living conditions, emphasizing health risks and discomfort in increasingly dramatic terms. Lily herself sent lengthy text messages, alternating between gratitude for Maya's research and frustration with her refusal to provide direct financial help. The breakthrough came when Maya offered a compromise that maintained her boundaries while addressing the legitimate emergency. She would pay for temporary heating solutions and basic winterization measures to make the house safely habitable while Lily pursued proper financing for permanent system replacement. The offer addressed immediate safety concerns without enabling long-term financial dependency. Lily's acceptance of this compromise revealed growing maturity in her approach to family relationships and financial responsibility. She thanked Maya genuinely for the assistance while acknowledging that permanent solutions were her responsibility as the property owner. The conversation marked a shift toward more adult communication between the sisters for the first time in years. The temporary heating solution cost Maya $3,000 and provided sufficient warmth to make the house habitable throughout the winter months. Lily successfully secured contractor financing for the permanent system replacement, accepting the monthly payment obligations as part of responsible homeownership. The resolution demonstrated Lily's developing capability when appropriate support was combined with clear boundaries. Maya's wedding planning accelerated as spring approached, with decisions reflecting her values and relationships rather than traditional family expectations. The ceremony would be held at a vineyard outside Seattle, with a reception for 200 guests, including colleagues, friends, and Jonathan's extended family. The celebration was designed to honor their partnership and shared achievements rather than satisfying family political considerations. The wedding guest list created the most significant conflict Maya had yet experienced with her biological family. Her parents assumed they would be included prominently in the celebration, with substantial input regarding arrangements and guest selections. Lily expected to serve as maid of honor, despite their limited recent relationship. These assumptions collided directly with Maya's vision for her wedding day. Maya's approach to the wedding conflict was direct and unapologetic. She informed her parents that they were welcome to attend as guests, but would not have planning input or special roles in the ceremony. Maya's guest list created the most significant conflict Maya had yet experienced with her biological family. Her parents assumed they would be included prominently in the celebration, with substantial input regarding arrangements and guest selections. Lily expected to serve as maid of honor, despite their limited recent relationship. These assumptions collided directly with Maya's vision for her wedding day. Maya's approach to the wedding conflict was direct and unapologetic. She informed her parents that they were welcome to attend as guests, but would not have planning input or special roles in the ceremony.
Lily was invited as a guest with the same status as other family members. The wedding party would consist of people who had actively supported Maya and Jonathan's relationship over time. The reaction from Maya's biological family was intense and immediate. Susan accused Maya of punishing the family for past mistakes and excluding them from important life events. David expressed bewilderment that Maya would deny them traditional parental roles in her wedding. Lily was hurt and angry about being excluded from the wedding party, interpreting the decision as final rejection of their sisterly relationship. Maya's response to the family conflict was calm but firm. She explained that wedding roles were based on current relationships rather than biological connections or traditional expectations. Her parents and Lily were welcome to participate as honored guests, but special roles were reserved for people who had demonstrated consistent support and involvement in her life over recent years. The conversation revealed fundamental differences in how Maya and her family understood relationships and obligations. Her parents viewed family connections as permanent entitlements that couldn't be diminished by behavior or choices. Maya had learned to see relationships as dynamic connections that required ongoing investment and mutual respect to maintain their strength and significance. Jonathan's family provided a stark contrast in their approach to wedding planning and family relationships. His parents offered assistance and input when requested, but respected Maya and Jonathan's autonomy in making decisions. His siblings were excited to welcome Maya into their family traditions while understanding that she would maintain her own identity and relationships. The spring months brought increasing tension as the wedding approached and family conflicts remained unresolved. Maya's parents made several attempts to negotiate compromise solutions that would give them more prominent roles in the ceremony. Lily tried various approaches to secure inclusion in the wedding party, alternating between emotional appeals and accusations of family betrayal. Maya's professional life provided stability and fulfillment that balanced the family stress. Her consulting practice was thriving, with waiting lists of clients seeking her expertise. The international project had expanded into additional markets, generating revenues that exceeded all projections. Industry recognition continued growing, with invitations to serve on advisory boards and speak at prestigious conferences. The wedding itself was a celebration of Maya's chosen family and authentic relationships. Jonathan's parents walked Maya down the aisle when her father's behavior during planning made his participation inappropriate. Her maid of honor was Rachel Martinez, a colleague who had become like a sister through years of professional collaboration and personal support. The ceremony was intimate, meaningful, and exactly what Maya had envisioned. Maya's biological family attended the wedding as guests, maintaining polite but distant behavior throughout the celebration. Their presence was noticeable but not disruptive, reflecting their understanding that the day belonged to Maya and Jonathan rather than serving family political purposes. The contrast between their isolation and the warmth surrounding Maya from her chosen family was apparent to everyone present. The reception featured speeches from colleagues, mentors, and friends who had witnessed Maya and Jonathan's relationship development. The stories shared highlighted their professional achievements, personal growth, and mutual support through various challenges. No family member spoke, reflecting their peripheral role in the couple's actual life together. Maya's honeymoon was spent touring sustainable technology installations across Scandinavia, combining personal celebration with professional development. The trip provided perspective on global approaches to renewable energy and generated ideas for future consulting opportunities. Most importantly, it offered time for Maya and Jonathan to envision their future without external family pressures or obligations. The months following the wedding brought a period of reduced contact with Maya's biological family. Her parents seemed to understand that their behavior during wedding planning had consequences, though they struggled to articulate what they might have done differently. Lily maintained sporadic contact, gradually accepting that her relationship with Maya required different foundations than childhood assumptions. Maya's career reached new heights as her consulting practice expanded internationally. Governments were seeking her expertise for national energy policy development. Technology companies wanted her strategic guidance for product development. Academic institutions invited her to lead research initiatives that would shape industry standards for decades. The financial success of Maya's consulting practice exceeded even her optimistic projections. Her net worth had grown to levels that provided complete independence and unlimited opportunities for future endeavors. The wealth was satisfying not for its own sake, but for the freedom and security it provided, allowing Maya to make choices based on values rather than financial necessities. Jonathan's career had also flourished since their marriage, with his software development company securing major contracts with aerospace manufacturers. Their combined success created a lifestyle that was comfortable and meaningful, focused on professional achievement and personal fulfillment rather than material accumulation or social status. Maya's relationship with her biological family settled into a pattern of polite distance, punctuated by occasional crises where financial assistance was requested or expected. Each crisis followed familiar patterns. Poor planning created predictable problems, emergency solutions were needed immediately, and Maya's resources were viewed as appropriate sources of rescue rather than her own achievements requiring respect. The pattern shifted dramatically when Maya received a call from her father on a Tuesday morning in October, 18 months after her wedding. David's voice carried an unfamiliar tone of humility and genuine distress as he explained a situation that would test all the boundaries Maya had carefully established over recent years. The call concerned Lily, who had been experiencing serious health problems that were affecting her ability to work and maintain the house. David's explanation was careful and detailed, avoiding the dramatic manipulation that had characterized previous appeals for assistance. The medical situation was legitimate and serious, creating genuine vulnerability that went beyond the financial crises Maya had learned to expect. Lily had been diagnosed with lupus, an autoimmune condition that caused fatigue, joint pain, and unpredictable flares that could last for weeks. The diagnosis explained months of mysterious symptoms that had been affecting her work performance and overall quality of life. Treatment was available but expensive, and the condition would require ongoing medical management for the rest of her life. The medical crisis created practical problems that extended beyond healthcare costs. Lily's work performance had suffered during the months of undiagnosed illness, resulting in reduced hours and income. The house maintenance demands remained constant while her physical capacity to manage them had diminished significantly.
Lily had been diagnosed with lupus, an autoimmune condition that caused fatigue, joint pain, and unpredictable flares that could last for weeks. The diagnosis explained months of mysterious symptoms that had been affecting her work performance and overall quality of life. Treatment was available but expensive, and the condition would require ongoing medical management for the rest of her life. The medical crisis created practical problems that extended beyond healthcare costs. Lily's work performance had suffered during the months of undiagnosed illness, resulting in reduced hours and income. The house maintenance demands remained constant while her physical capacity to manage them had diminished significantly.
Medical expenses were consuming savings that had been allocated for property upkeep and emergency repairs. David's request for Maya's assistance was different from previous appeals in both tone and substance. He acknowledged the pattern of previous requests and Maya's reasonable boundaries around financial support. He emphasized that this situation was genuinely different because it involved Lily's health and long-term well-being rather than consequences of poor planning or unrealistic expectations. Maya listened to her father's explanation with genuine sympathy for Lily's medical situation and appreciation for David's more mature approach to requesting assistance. The health crisis was legitimate and serious, deserving of family support in ways that previous financial difficulties had not been. However, Maya was also aware that medical emergencies could become ongoing expectations if not handled carefully. Maya's initial response focused on gathering information rather than making immediate commitments. She asked detailed questions about Lily's diagnosis, treatment options, insurance coverage, and prognosis. She researched lupus extensively, consulting with medical professionals in her network to understand the condition's impact and management requirements. The research revealed that lupus was indeed serious but manageable with proper medical care and lifestyle adjustments. Treatment costs were substantial but predictable, making budgeting and planning possible. Most importantly, many people with lupus maintained full professional lives and independence with appropriate support and medical management. Maya's approach to Lily's medical crisis reflected the maturity and boundaries she had developed through years of family conflicts. She offered substantial assistance with immediate medical expenses while establishing clear expectations about long-term planning and independence. The offer was generous but structured to promote Lily's autonomy rather than creating ongoing dependency. The medical assistance Maya provided covered Lily's initial treatment costs, specialist consultations, and prescription medications for the first 6 months of her diagnosis. The support was given as a gift rather than a loan, acknowledging the legitimate nature of the health emergency. However, Maya also insisted that Lily work with financial counselors to develop sustainable, long-term strategies for managing ongoing medical expenses. Lily's response to Maya's assistance revealed significant personal growth from the woman who had expected bailouts for property taxes and heating repairs. She accepted the help gratefully while acknowledging responsibility for developing her own long-term solutions. The conversation between the sisters was more honest and mature than any they had shared since childhood. The lupus diagnosis created an opportunity for genuine reconnection between Maya and Lily based on current reality rather than historical resentments or family expectations. Maya's willingness to provide appropriate assistance demonstrated that her boundaries were about enabling healthy relationships rather than punishing past behavior. Lily's acceptance of help without entitlement showed developing maturity and self-awareness. Maya's parents observed these interactions with apparent surprise and growing respect for the relationship their daughters were building independently. Susan and David began reducing their involvement in conflicts between Maya and Lily, allowing the sisters to develop their own communication patterns. This withdrawal reflected their recognition that their previous interventions had often worsened rather than improved family dynamics. The winter months brought additional challenges as Lily adjusted to living with a chronic condition while maintaining independence. Her energy levels fluctuated unpredictably, making consistent work schedules difficult. House maintenance became more challenging when lupus flares limited her physical capacity. However, she approached these problems with problem-solving rather than expecting family rescue. Maya provided ongoing emotional support and practical advice as Lily navigated her new reality. Their phone conversations became more frequent and substantive, focusing on Lily's experiences rather than Maya's achievements or family obligations. The shift toward mutual support and genuine interest marked a fundamental change in their relationship dynamic.
Jonathan observed Maya's evolving relationship with her sister with interest and support. His own family experiences had taught him that relationships could change when people were willing to grow and establish healthier patterns. He encouraged Maya's cautious optimism about rebuilding connection with Lily while respecting the boundaries that had protected Maya's well-being. Spring brought evidence that Lily was successfully adapting to life with lupus and maintaining her independence despite the challenges. She had negotiated flexible work arrangements that accommodated her health needs while maintaining full-time employment. She had established relationships with medical providers who understood her condition and supported her independence goals. Most significantly, Lily had stopped expecting family rescue for problems that were her responsibility to solve. When the house needed minor repairs that she couldn't afford immediately, she researched financing options and postponed non-essential projects rather than calling Maya for assistance. The shift towards self-reliance was noticed and appreciated by everyone in the family. Maya's professional achievements continued reaching new levels throughout this period of family relationship evolution. Her consulting practice had expanded to include government contracts worth millions of dollars. Her expertise was being sought by international organizations developing global sustainability standards. The recognition and financial success provided security that allowed her to engage with family issues from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. The relationship between Maya and her parents also began evolving as they witnessed the healthier dynamic developing between their daughters. Susan and David started acknowledging Maya's boundaries as reasonable rather than selfish, recognizing that their previous expectations had been unrealistic and unfair. Their interactions with Maya became more respectful and less demanding. The transformation in family dynamics was gradual but unmistakable. Conversations became less focused on what Maya could provide and more interested in her experiences and perspectives. Her achievements were acknowledged for their own merit rather than being viewed primarily as family resources. Most importantly, her boundaries were respected rather than challenged or circumvented. Maya's success in rebuilding relationships with her family while maintaining healthy boundaries became a source of pride and satisfaction that complemented her professional achievements. The process had required years of patient consistency and clear communication, but the results were worth the investment. Her family was learning to see her as an autonomous adult deserving of respect rather than a resource to be managed. The second anniversary of Maya's wedding approached with family relationships in a healthier state than they had been since her childhood. Lily was thriving professionally and personally despite her health challenges. She had negotiated flexible work arrangements that accommodated her health needs while maintaining full-time employment. She had established relationships with medical providers who understood her condition and supported her independence goals. Most significantly, Lily had stopped expecting family rescue for problems that were her responsibility to solve. When the house needed minor repairs that she couldn't afford immediately, she researched financing options and postponed non-essential projects rather than calling Maya for assistance. The shift towards self-reliance was noticed and appreciated by everyone in the family. Maya's professional achievements continued reaching new levels throughout this period of family relationship evolution. Her consulting practice had expanded to include government contracts worth millions of dollars. Her expertise was being sought by international organizations developing global sustainability standards. The recognition and financial success provided security that allowed her to engage with family issues from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. The relationship between Maya and her parents also began evolving as they witnessed the healthier dynamic developing between their daughters. Susan and David started acknowledging Maya's boundaries as reasonable rather than selfish, recognizing that their previous expectations had been unrealistic and unfair. Their interactions with Maya became more respectful and less demanding. The transformation in family dynamics was gradual but unmistakable. Conversations became less focused on what Maya could provide and more interested in her experiences and perspectives. Her achievements were acknowledged for their own merit rather than being viewed primarily as family resources. Most importantly, her boundaries were respected rather than challenged or circumvented. Maya's success in rebuilding relationships with her family while maintaining healthy boundaries became a source of pride and satisfaction that complemented her professional achievements. The process had required years of patient consistency and clear communication, but the results were worth the investment. Her family was learning to see her as an autonomous adult deserving of respect rather than a resource to be managed. The second anniversary of Maya's wedding approached with family relationships in a healthier state than they had been since her childhood. Lily was thriving professionally and personally despite her health challenges. Her parents had developed more realistic expectations and greater appreciation for both daughters' autonomy. Maya had demonstrated that boundaries and compassion could coexist in family relationships. Maya's reflection on the journey from family crisis to healthier relationships provided perspective on the importance of maintaining personal integrity while remaining open to growth and change. Her success professionally and personally had created the foundation for engaging with family issues from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. The lessons learned through years of family conflict and resolution were becoming valuable to Maya's consulting practice and personal relationships. Her ability to set clear boundaries while maintaining compassion had become a leadership strength that clients and colleagues respected. The skills developed through family challenges were transferable to professional situations requiring similar balance. As Maya prepared for the next phase of her career and personal life, the stable foundation of healthy family relationships provided security and support that had been absent during her early adulthood. The relationships were built on mutual respect and appropriate boundaries rather than obligation and manipulation, creating sustainability that had been impossible under previous family dynamics. The transformation of Maya's family relationships from dysfunction to health had required patience, consistency, and willingness to accept gradual change rather than demanding immediate perfection. The process had strengthened her confidence in her judgment and ability to maintain relationships that honored her values while remaining open to growth and forgiveness when appropriate. Maya's story was becoming an example of how professional success and personal boundaries could create the foundation for healthier family relationships without sacrificing individual autonomy or achievement. The balance she had achieved between independence and connection was serving as a model for other successful individuals navigating similar family dynamics. The unexpected phone call that would fundamentally alter Maya's family dynamics arrived on a crisp Thursday morning in November, 3 years after her wedding and 2 years since Lily's lupus diagnosis. Maya was reviewing architectural plans for a sustainable technology campus her consulting firm was designing when her phone displayed her mother's contact information. The timing was unusual since Susan typically called during evening hours, immediately putting Maya on alert for potential crisis situations. Susan's voice carried a tone Maya had never heard before, a mixture of panic, embarrassment, and desperate vulnerability that bypassed all the usual conversational pleasantries. The words tumbled out in a rushed explanation that took Maya several minutes to fully comprehend. David had suffered a massive stroke the previous evening while working in his home office. The medical team at Portland General Hospital had managed to save his life, but the damage to his brain was extensive and potentially permanent. The stroke had affected David's speech, mobility, and cognitive functions in ways that would require months of intensive rehabilitation with uncertain outcomes. Susan's explanation of his condition was detailed but confused, reflecting her own shock and inability to process the magnitude of the situation. She had been at the hospital since the emergency, surviving on coffee and vending machine food while waiting for updates from medical specialists. Maya's immediate response was professional competence mixed with genuine concern for both parents' well-being. She asked specific questions about David's medical status, treatment protocols, and prognosis while simultaneously researching stroke rehabilitation centers and insurance coverage requirements. The crisis required immediate practical action combined with long-term planning for potentially permanent lifestyle changes. The conversation revealed that David's stroke had been preceded by months of warning signs that he had dismissed or hidden from the family. Elevated blood pressure, occasional dizziness, and minor speech difficulties had been attributed to work stress and normal aging rather than serious cardiovascular problems. His refusal to seek medical attention for these symptoms had contributed to the severity of the current crisis. Susan's financial situation was precarious in ways that Maya hadn't fully understood despite years of family discussions about money troubles. David's engineering pension provided their primary income, but medical insurance coverage was limited for the intensive rehabilitation services he would require. The potential for permanent disability raised questions about long-term care costs that could quickly exhaust their modest savings and retirement funds.
Maya's response to this genuine family emergency was immediate and comprehensive. She arranged for the best stroke specialists in the Pacific Northwest to consult on David's case, secured private rehabilitation services that exceeded insurance limitations, and established a medical fund to cover ongoing expenses without creating financial stress for her parents. The assistance was substantial but appropriate given the legitimate nature of the crisis. The difference between Maya's response to David's stroke and her previous reluctance to fund property taxes or heating repairs was obvious to everyone involved. Medical emergencies deserved family support in ways that poor financial planning did not. Maya's willingness to provide substantial assistance when genuinely needed demonstrated that her boundaries had been about enabling healthy behavior rather than punishing family members. Lily's response to their father's stroke revealed the maturity and self-awareness she had developed over the previous 2 years. Rather than expecting Maya to handle everything, Lily immediately arranged time off from work to help with David's care and Susan's emotional support. Her lupus was well controlled through medication and lifestyle management, allowing her to contribute meaningfully during the family crisis. The sisters worked together effectively for the first time in their adult lives, dividing responsibilities based on their respective capabilities and resources. Maya handled medical coordination and financial arrangements from Seattle, while Lily provided daily practical support and emotional comfort in Portland. Their collaboration was efficient and complementary, reflecting growth in both their relationship and individual maturity levels. Jonathan's support during the family medical crisis was exactly what Maya needed, providing emotional stability and practical assistance without attempting to manage or control her decisions. His own family's experience with medical emergencies had taught him that support meant being available when needed rather than offering unsolicited advice or judgment. His presence allowed Maya to focus on family needs without worrying about her primary relationship. David's rehabilitation process was lengthy and challenging, requiring months of intensive therapy to regain basic communication and mobility functions. Maya arranged for the best possible care while respecting her parents' autonomy in making treatment decisions. Her financial support was generous but structured to promote recovery and independence rather than creating ongoing dependency relationships. The stroke had affected David's personality as well as his physical capabilities, making him more emotionally expressive and less concerned with maintaining traditional masculine stoicism. The change was initially distressing for Susan, who had been married to a reserved and controlled man for over 30 years. However, David's increased emotional openness eventually strengthened their marriage by allowing deeper communication and intimacy. Maya's relationship with her father evolved significantly during his recovery period. David's cognitive limitations initially made conversation difficult, but his emotional barriers had been lowered by the brain injury. For the first time, he expressed genuine pride in Maya's achievements without immediately shifting focus to other family members. The validation was meaningful despite coming through tragic circumstances. The medical crisis had also revealed the depth of community support surrounding Maya's family in Portland. Neighbors, former colleagues, and longtime friends rallied to provide practical assistance and emotional comfort during David's hospitalization and early recovery. The response highlighted social connections that Maya's family had maintained despite their financial struggles and personal conflicts.
Lily's house became a gathering place for family, friends, and extended relatives who wanted to help during the crisis. The Victorian home that had been a source of financial stress was transformed into a center of community support and family healing. Lily's ability to host and organize these gatherings demonstrated capabilities that had been underdeveloped during years of parental protection and family conflict. Maya visited Portland monthly during David's rehabilitation, staying in a downtown hotel rather than with family to maintain appropriate boundaries while providing support. The visits allowed her to monitor her father's progress, assist with medical decisions, and gradually rebuild relationships that had been strained by years of conflict and misunderstanding. David's progress was slower than anyone had hoped, but more substantial than doctors had initially predicted. After 6 months of intensive therapy, he had regained most of his speech capabilities and enough mobility to live independently with minimal assistance. The cognitive impacts were permanent but manageable, requiring some lifestyle adjustments but not preventing him from enjoying meaningful activities and relationships.
The financial impact of David's stroke was substantial, despite Maya's assistance, requiring significant lifestyle adjustments for her parents. They sold their second car, canceled unnecessary services, and modified their home to accommodate David's mobility limitations. The changes were difficult but manageable with the medical support fund Maya had established for ongoing expenses. Susan's role as primary caregiver had been challenging but ultimately rewarding, strengthening her sense of purpose and capability. Her dedication to David's recovery was complete and competent, earning respect from medical professionals and family members who witnessed her commitment. The experience revealed strengths that Susan hadn't known she possessed after decades of depending on David for major decisions. Maya's consulting practice had continued thriving despite the additional time and attention required for family medical issues. Her international reputation had grown to the point where clients adjusted their schedules to accommodate her availability rather than expecting immediate response to requests. The professional security allowed her to provide family support without compromising her career trajectory. The stroke had created an opportunity for Maya's extended family to observe her character and values through her response to genuine crisis. Relatives who had been peripheral to previous family conflicts witnessed Maya's generous support for her parents' medical needs and her collaborative approach to working with Lily. The response enhanced her reputation within the broader family network. Maya's approach to the medical crisis had been guided by principles she had developed through years of professional and personal growth. She provided substantial assistance when genuinely needed, while maintaining expectations for appropriate independence and self-advocacy. The balance between support and boundaries reflected wisdom gained through previous family conflicts and resolutions. The first anniversary of David's stroke was marked by a family gathering at Lily's house that would have been unimaginable years earlier. David had recovered sufficiently to enjoy conversation and light physical activity. Susan had adapted to her caregiving role while maintaining her own identity and interests. Lily had demonstrated capability and reliability that earned respect from all family members. Maya's reflection on the year of medical crisis and family evolution revealed how much had changed in their relationships and mutual understanding. The stroke had been tragic, but it had also created opportunities for growth and healing that might not have occurred under normal circumstances. Family members had discovered strengths they didn't know they possessed and developed appreciation for each other's contributions. The dinner conversation during the anniversary gathering was relaxed and genuine in ways that reflected the new family dynamics. David spoke proudly of both daughters' achievements without comparison or favoritism. Susan acknowledged Maya's professional success and Lily's personal growth with equal enthusiasm. The sisters supported each other naturally without competition or resentment. Maya's marriage to Jonathan had provided a model of healthy relationship dynamics that influenced her approach to family interactions. Their partnership demonstrated how mutual respect, clear communication, and appropriate boundaries could create sustainable intimacy and support. These lessons were applicable to family relationships as well as romantic partnerships. Jonathan's integration into Maya's family had been gradual but complete, with even David and Susan recognizing his positive influence on Maya's happiness and their family's overall health. His engineering background allowed him to connect with David during recovery, providing male companionship that supported David's emotional adjustment to his changed capabilities. The second anniversary of David's stroke brought unexpected news that would test the family's newly established harmony. Lily announced her engagement to Marcus Williams, a marketing executive she had been dating for 8 months. The relationship had developed quietly, with Lily choosing to build the foundation privately before introducing Marcus to family scrutiny and expectations. Maya's response to Lily's engagement was immediately supportive and enthusiastic, reflecting the authentic friendship that had developed between the sisters over the previous years. She offered to help with wedding planning, provide financial assistance if needed, and include Marcus in family gatherings and celebrations. The response was generous and genuine, without conditions or expectations of reciprocal treatment. Lily's approach to wedding planning was notably different from the dramatic expectations that had characterized her earlier life decisions. She and Marcus wanted a simple ceremony focused on their commitment rather than elaborate celebration designed to impress others. The maturity reflected her personal growth and financial realities as a homeowner with ongoing medical expenses.
Maya's parents' response to Lily's engagement was appropriate and supportive without the excessive enthusiasm that had characterized their reactions to Lily's milestones during childhood. David and Susan had learned to celebrate both daughters' achievements without comparison or favoritism, creating space for each woman to have her own experiences and recognition. The wedding planning process became an opportunity for the sisters to collaborate as equals, rather than competing for parental attention or family resources. Maya's event planning experience and financial resources complemented Lily's local knowledge and personal vision for the celebration. Their cooperation was efficient and enjoyable, reflecting their evolved relationship. Marcus's integration into the family was smooth and natural, aided by the healthier dynamics that had developed over recent years. He was welcomed as Lily's chosen partner rather than evaluated for his ability to meet family expectations or provide specific benefits. The acceptance was based on his obvious love for Lily and her happiness in the relationship. Maya's professional achievements continued accelerating even as family relationships stabilized and strengthened. Her consulting firm had become the premier provider of sustainable technology strategy for Fortune 500 companies and government organizations worldwide. The financial success provided security that enhanced her ability to engage with family issues from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. Lily's wedding was held at a botanical garden in Portland, with reception at a historic mansion that provided elegance without excessive expense. Maya's parents' response to Lily's engagement was appropriate and supportive without the excessive enthusiasm that had characterized their reactions to Lily's milestones during childhood. David and Susan had learned to celebrate both daughters' achievements without comparison or favoritism, creating space for each woman to have her own experiences and recognition. The wedding planning process became an opportunity for the sisters to collaborate as equals rather than competing for parental attention or family resources. Maya's event planning experience and financial resources complemented Lily's local knowledge and personal vision for the celebration. Their cooperation was efficient and enjoyable, reflecting their evolved relationship. Marcus's integration into the family was smooth and natural, aided by the healthier dynamics that had developed over recent years. He was welcomed as Lily's chosen partner rather than evaluated for his ability to meet family expectations or provide specific benefits. The acceptance was based on his obvious love for Lily and her happiness in the relationship. Maya's professional achievements continued accelerating even as family relationships stabilized and strengthened. Her consulting firm had become the premier provider of sustainable technology strategy for Fortune 500 companies and government organizations worldwide. The financial success provided security that enhanced her ability to engage with family issues from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. Lily's wedding was held at a botanical garden in Portland, with reception at a historic mansion that provided elegance without excessive expense. Maya's parents' response to Lily's engagement was appropriate and supportive without the excessive enthusiasm that had characterized their reactions to Lily's milestones during childhood. David and Susan had learned to celebrate both daughters' achievements without comparison or favoritism, creating space for each woman to have her own experiences and recognition. The wedding planning process became an opportunity for the sisters to collaborate as equals rather than competing for parental attention or family resources. Maya's event planning experience and financial resources complemented Lily's local knowledge and personal vision for the celebration. Their cooperation was efficient and enjoyable, reflecting their evolved relationship. Marcus's integration into the family was smooth and natural, aided by the healthier dynamics that had developed over recent years. He was welcomed as Lily's chosen partner rather than evaluated for his ability to meet family expectations or provide specific benefits. The acceptance was based on his obvious love for Lily and her happiness in the relationship. Maya's professional achievements continued accelerating even as family relationships stabilized and strengthened. Her consulting firm had become the premier provider of sustainable technology strategy for Fortune 500 companies and government organizations worldwide. The financial success provided security that enhanced her ability to engage with family issues from a position of strength rather than vulnerability. Lily's wedding was held at a botanical garden in Portland, with reception at a historic mansion that provided elegance without excessive expense.
Maya served as matron of honor with genuine pride and affection, while Jonathan participated as a groomsman alongside Marcus's brothers and college friends. The celebration honored the couple's relationship while including family members appropriately. The wedding reception featured speeches that highlighted Lily's personal growth and professional achievements, as well as her relationship with Marcus. Maya's toast emphasized her pride in the woman Lily had become and her excitement about the future they were building together. The words were heartfelt and specific, reflecting genuine knowledge and appreciation of Lily's journey. David's participation in the wedding was limited by his physical capabilities, but meaningful within those constraints. He walked Lily down the aisle with assistance, delivered a brief but emotional speech about both daughters' happiness, and danced with both the bride and Maya during the reception. His presence was celebrated by everyone who understood how uncertain his recovery had been. Susan's role as mother of the bride was handled with grace and appropriate boundaries, focusing on Lily's happiness rather than her own desires for recognition or control. The approach reflected growth in her understanding of healthy family relationships and her daughter's autonomy as adults. Her support was genuine and unobtrusive, exactly what the situation required. The months following Lily's wedding brought a period of stability and contentment to Maya's family relationships that felt both earned and sustainable. Regular communication was maintained without obligation or manipulation. Holiday celebrations were shared when convenient, without guilt or pressure. The relationships were based on mutual affection and respect rather than duty or expectation. Maya's reflection on the journey from family crisis to healthy relationships revealed lessons that were applicable both personally and professionally. The importance of maintaining boundaries while remaining open to growth and change had become central to her leadership approach in business settings. The skills developed through family conflicts were valuable in all relationship contexts. The third anniversary of David's stroke was marked by a quiet family dinner at Maya's Seattle home, with all family members traveling to celebrate together. The gathering was relaxed and comfortable, featuring conversation about current events, shared memories, and future plans without underlying tension or unresolved conflicts. The atmosphere reflected authentic connection rather than performed harmony. Maya's success in transforming her family relationships while maintaining personal integrity and professional achievement had become a source of pride that complemented her external accomplishments. The process had required patience, consistency, and willingness to accept gradual change rather than demanding immediate perfection. The results were worth the investment of time and emotional energy required. The lessons learned through years of family conflict and resolution were being shared with other successful individuals facing similar challenges through Maya's professional speaking engagements. Her expertise in sustainable technology was complemented by insights about sustainable relationships that resonated with audiences dealing with family dynamics complicated by professional success and financial resources. Maya's story had become an example of how boundaries and compassion could coexist in family relationships, how success could enhance rather than complicate family connections when handled appropriately, and how patience and consistency could transform even deeply dysfunctional family patterns into healthy, sustainable relationships based on mutual respect and genuine affection. The Victorian house on Maple Street remained Lily's residence and responsibility, but it had been transformed from a burden into an asset through her growing competence as a homeowner and Maya's appropriate support during genuine crises. The property represented family history and stability while reflecting both sisters' growth and the healthier dynamics they had developed together. Maya's consulting firm had grown to employ over 50 professionals working on projects across 6 continents, making her one of the most influential figures in sustainable technology development globally. The success provided resources and recognition that enhanced her ability to support family members when appropriately while maintaining the boundaries necessary for healthy relationships. The balance Maya had achieved between professional achievement and family connection had become sustainable and rewarding in ways that had seemed impossible during years of conflict and misunderstanding. Her success had created the foundation for engaging with family issues from a position of strength rather than vulnerable, while her boundaries had protected everyone involved from the dysfunction that had characterized previous family patterns. Jonathan and Maya had celebrated their 5th wedding anniversary with plans for starting their own family, a decision that felt natural and exciting rather than obligatory or pressured. Their relationship provided the stability and joy that made expanding their household seem like an enhancement rather than a risk. The decision was made autonomously while being supported enthusiastically by both extended families. The announcement of Maya's pregnancy was met with appropriate celebration from all family members, with David and Susan expressing excitement about becoming grandparents while respecting Maya and Jonathan's autonomy in preparing for parenthood. Lily was thrilled about becoming an aunt and offered support without presuming involvement in decisions that belonged to the expectant parents. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption, reflecting the advantages of being an established leader with competent team members and supportive partnership.
The success she had achieved created flexibility and resources that made balancing career and family expansion feasible and enjoyable rather than stressful. The birth of Maya and Jonathan's daughter, Elena Chen Park, was attended by family members who had earned their place through years of mutual support and healthy relationship development. David and Susan were present as loving grandparents without expectations of special roles or excessive involvement. Lily was a devoted aunt who respected the parents' decisions while offering appropriate assistance. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption, reflecting the advantages of being an established leader with competent team members and supportive partnership. The success she had achieved created flexibility and resources that made balancing career and family expansion feasible and enjoyable rather than stressful. The birth of Maya and Jonathan's daughter, Elena Chen Park, was attended by family members who had earned their place through years of mutual support and healthy relationship development. David and Susan were present as loving grandparents without expectations of special roles or excessive involvement. Lily was a devoted aunt who respected the parents' decisions while offering appropriate assistance. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption, reflecting the advantages of being an established leader with competent team members and supportive partnership. The success she had achieved created flexibility and resources that made balancing career and family expansion feasible and enjoyable rather than stressful. The birth of Maya and Jonathan's daughter, Elena Chen Park, was attended by family members who had earned their place through years of mutual support and healthy relationship development. David and Susan were present as loving grandparents without expectations of special roles or excessive involvement. Lily was a devoted aunt who respected the parents' decisions while offering appropriate assistance. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption, reflecting the advantages of being an established leader with competent team members and supportive partnership. The success she had achieved created flexibility and resources that made balancing career and family expansion feasible and enjoyable rather than stressful. The birth of Maya and Jonathan's daughter, Elena Chen Park, was attended by family members who had earned their place through years of mutual support and healthy relationship development. David and Susan were present as loving grandparents without expectations of special roles or excessive involvement. Lily was a devoted aunt who respected the parents' decisions while offering appropriate assistance. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption, reflecting the advantages of being an established leader with competent team members and supportive partnership. The success she had achieved created flexibility and resources that made balancing career and family expansion feasible and enjoyable rather than stressful. The birth of Maya and Jonathan's daughter, Elena Chen Park, was attended by family members who had earned their place through years of mutual support and healthy relationship development. David and Susan were present as loving grandparents without expectations of special roles or excessive involvement. Lily was a devoted aunt who respected the parents' decisions while offering appropriate assistance. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption, reflecting the advantages of being an established leader with competent team members and supportive partnership. The success she had achieved created flexibility and resources that made balancing career and family expansion feasible and enjoyable. The birth of Maya and Jonathan's daughter, Elena Chen Park, was attended by family members who had earned their place through years of mutual support and healthy relationship development. David and Susan were present as loving grandparents without expectations of special roles or excessive involvement. Lily was a devoted aunt who respected the parents' decisions while offering appropriate assistance. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption, reflecting the advantages of being an established leader with competent team members and supportive partnership. The success she had achieved created flexibility and resources that made balancing career and family expansion feasible and enjoyable. The birth of Maya and Jonathan's daughter, Elena Chen Park, was attended by family members who had earned their place through years of mutual support and healthy relationship development. David and Susan were present as loving grandparents without expectations of special roles or excessive involvement. Lily was a devoted aunt who respected the parents' decisions while offering appropriate assistance. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption, reflecting the advantages of being an established leader with competent team members and supportive partnership. The success she had achieved created flexibility and resources that made balancing career and family expansion feasible and enjoyable. The birth of Maya and Jonathan's daughter, Elena Chen Park, was attended by family members who had earned their place through years of mutual support and healthy relationship development. David and Susan were present as loving grandparents without expectations of special roles or excessive involvement. Lily was a devoted aunt who respected the parents' decisions while offering appropriate assistance. Maya's pregnancy progressed smoothly while her professional responsibilities continued without interruption.